Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And we are live today. It's been a few weeks since I've actually been live, and so it's good to, I like doing it this way a lot better. I didn't think I was going to be able to go live this week because when I originally started doing these on Tuesday afternoons, I picked that time because I'm almost always here Tuesdays at noon. But last week was my dad's birthday, and I was wanting to be gone today because it's the Revival Fires Conference in Bourbonnais, but some things ended up happening where I was not able to go this morning, so we get to do it live, so that's good. Might be going there tonight if you live around Bourbonnais, and looking forward to going and hearing some preaching out there. But anyway, today I need to just kind of put a warning out there. Parental guidance warning, disclaimer. I'm going to be talking about very sensitive subject today. The subject of pornography. Now, I've been praying about how to address this for a while. I've been wanting to get to this for a long time and just trying to figure out the best way to do it. And by the way, let me know if my audio is weird or anything because oh yeah, thank you. Somebody said turn the volume up. I've got a new microphone thing here that I'm using, and so I don't know if I have the settings exactly right. So let me know if that's good. I just turned it up. Let me know if it's good. But yeah, I'm probably going to spend a few weeks on this subject, hoping to get some guests to help me out with this. When it comes to this subject, I've talked to several pastors in the last few weeks asking if they know anyone who, I guess, specializes in the subject of helping people, that are struggling with pornography, getting them out of it. And nobody really knows anybody. And trying to find some good resources out there. And anytime somebody does tell me about anything, they always got to throw in the disclaimer. Well, there's this one resource out there. It's not IFB. And honestly, I'm fine with looking at other resources and things like that. I wish some IFB people would put some stuff out, people that I know have good doctrine and everything. But for some reason, and I think I know what they are, I think there's many, this is just something we don't want to talk about. It's a very uncomfortable subject, but folks, this is a huge, huge problem. And it's one that people don't like talking about. It's something that I think that a lot of men are struggling with, and they just don't want to say anything. And and let me just start by saying too, I'm probably going to give some stories today. I will not tell anything about anybody that has ever gone to my church or anything like that. I do want people to be able, feel like they can come talk to me if they're struggling with these things. And so, but this is, I do hear from a lot of people that watch me online. I think they feel a little more comfortable talking with somebody they don't know in the flesh. My wife, she talks with ladies whose husbands are dealing with it because of her show. She has people reach out to her, and just more and more I'm finding out, even different pastors that are caught up in this stuff. And this is a really, really big problem. And honestly, this is why I'm putting this out there. If you have any good recommendations, and, if you are a preacher that's out there and you've dealt with this and you feel like you've got something to say on this subject, you know what? Don't be ashamed to reach out to me. I don't research this subject a lot. I don't even want to search anything that has to do with this, but I'd be interested in talking with you and maybe having you on the show because people do need deliverance from this. And so, I was blessed to grow up in a Christian home. I was very innocent when I got married, and that was a huge blessing. And, I've never struggled with addiction or anything like that. And I'm thankful for that. But a lot of people have, and I do believe they can get deliverance from it. I do believe they can be victorious over it. But I'm not experiencing that, and I really don't want to be experiencing that. But I would love to talk with people who have worked with people in this area. So, any good recommendations, send them my way. And yeah, obviously I prefer an IFB person, but if they're not, I might talk to them anyway, and everybody's heads can just explode over it. And then, if you got something better than they've got, then I'd be glad to hear it. So, but anyway, I hope everyone had a good Easter. And if you have any questions, put them in the live chat. I try to pay attention to the live chat, but sometimes I'm not skilled enough, smart enough to concentrate on what I'm talking about and watch a live chat at the same time. I kind of get distracted. And if you can kind of keep the live chat subject matter on the subject matter, that would help too. All right. There's a few of you I will not name right now. You tend to get on there and talk about everything other than whatever we're talking about. And it's typically your same subject. So let's try not to do that today. Let's keep things on point. This is a serious subject. And what my goal is today, the people that I'm wanting to speak to, I guess, the most are the ones who have not gotten caught up in this. If you are not struggling in this area, if you have not gotten involved in this, that's kind of who I'm mainly speaking to today, because it is so important that you never get caught up in this thing. It is dangerous, and it is going to have a devastating effect on your life. And so I want to talk to you. My dad, one of the things, growing up, he talked about a lot is, he was someone who, he had a heart for the Lord at a young age. He got saved as a young boy. And, him and his cousin, who is my uncle, the two of them married women who were sisters. And his name's Ken Graham. He's going to be preaching for me this Sunday. They used to, when they were younger, they grew up, so they grew up in Christian homes. My uncle grew up in a pastor's home. And they used to hear these preachers get up, tell their dramatic stories about all the terrible things that they did, before they got saved. And they would almost, brag on all the terrible stuff they did. And everybody loved hearing those dramatic stories. But, their philosophy was, isn't it better if you have a testimony? I never did those things. I never got caught up in that stuff. You don't have to deal with the scars of those things. And, and that's kind of how I've geared my ministry. Obviously, I want to help people who've come out of difficult situations. I think every church ought to do that. But at the same time, too, I really want to focus on trying to help young people never get involved in these things. You know what? I would rather stop people from ever taking drugs than try to help them get out of drug addiction. And if I can do anything to just stop people from ever messing with pornography, I would rather do that than trying to help them recover from that. That's kind of where my focus is, I guess. And thank God for those who have come out of that stuff and are helping people come out of it. We need people like you, and we need you in this area too. If you're someone who's gotten victory over pornography, we need you, because there's people out there who really, really need your help, and I would love to talk with you. So again, let me know if you know anybody in that area. But anyway, I do want to go ahead and get into this subject. But again, I've been kind of torn on, how to deal with this, just because it's one, the verse in the Bible I've been thinking of is in Ephesians 5:10. It says, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light, for whatsoever doth make manifest is light. And let me tell you, when it comes to pornography, it's something that's so bad, and the stuff that takes place on there, it's so wicked. I don't even want to talk about it, and I'm not comfortable talking about it from the pulpit. You've got mixed company there, you've got young children, you don't want to hurt their innocence, but at the same time, people in the church are often struggling greatly, and we got to figure out somehow how to, scare our young people from ever getting involved in this stuff. So it's hard to know exactly what to say, when to say, and how to say it on this. And I hope I don't cross any lines here today. I'm definitely going to try not to, but I do feel like some things need to be said, and if I cross any lines, I apologize. I'll take the beating or whatever. But while there's some things that I do not want to speak of, we also see there's things we're supposed to reprove too. And so when you have something like pornography that is hurting people so much, that's hurting so many marriages, that is messing with the minds of people, I'm here today to tell you that these things, you have to speak about it, and you have to speak about it in a public way. And I do want to, my goal today, we'll see if I succeed, is to be nice about this. I don't want to be mean. I do want to speak kindly, because it's real easy to just get up and just start hammering people, calling them perverts, whatever. But every man, I think, understands the temptation that's there. There are some things that I think all men are tempted with, and unfortunately, many are deceived by those temptations, and that's how lust works. It is deceptive. It makes us think that certain things are going to bring us pleasure and satisfaction, and it is always a lie. Every single time, it's a lie. And we're going to look at some statistics and stuff on this and talk about it. But another passage I want to look at too in the Bible, in Matthew chapter 15, because I'm going to give you my thoughts on a lot of stuff, but that might not mean much. I at least want to give some scripture too, so we can make sure we actually accomplish something. But Matthew 15:17 says, "Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast out into the drought? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile a man." Now, Jesus is speaking here to people who were so caught up in these outward things, and they didn't want to be defiled by being touched by something, or because they didn't wash their hands, or because of something that they ate or they drank. They did not want to be defiled by those things. But Jesus was showing him that, what goes into the mouth, it eventually goes out into the drought. Okay. You hear about drought houses that are mentioned in the Bible, and that's similar to the same thing as an outhouse, what we call today. But either way, you know what that is. And he's saying those aren't what defile you. What defiles you is what comes out of your mouth. And what comes out of your mouth comes from your heart. And it's the things in the heart that defile a man. And he goes on to say, "For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts." Evil thoughts. That's what you think, folks. That's not what you do. It's what you think. And then it goes on to say murders. Now that is on the outside. Adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to think with unwashed hands, or to eat with unwashed hands, defileth not a man. So very clearly here, what defiles us are things that we end up doing, and these things, they come from the heart. So at the same time, since these things come from the heart, we've got to understand, mine eye affecteth mine heart. The things that we see do affect our heart. They affect the way we think, whatever. Okay. And so we need to make sure we're very careful about what we watch, because it does affect us. And folks, one of the biggest areas where people are deceived is they think, me watching this pornography, it's not going to affect me. It's going to, give me some pleasure. I'm going to get a little bit of joy out of it, but it's not going to change me. I'm still going to be fine. I'm still going to love my wife. I'm still going to be a good father. I'm still going to be a good Christian. You tell yourself all these things, but you have no idea you're doing something to your heart when you view these things, and it is going to eventually manifest itself. It will manifest itself, and it's going to cause a lot of problems for you. Now, what I want to do right now, I want us to look at a website, and we're going to look at some statistics here in just a second. Let me switch over to the screen share here. But this is from Covenant Eyes. Some of you probably heard of Covenant Eyes. I think this is from Job 31:1, where he says, "I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid?" So Uh, I think that's an interesting verse right there, and I think that's where this comes from. But I want to point out a few things on this. So, and folks, I'm not getting paid by these people. This is not I've just heard about this website a lot, but basically, what this Covenant Eyes is, um, it's an app that you can put on your phone that tracks what you do. And don't act like you're freaked out by that. And you're not going to do it because you don't want the government spying on you. If you've got a cell phone, they're spying on you. So shut up. All right. Google's spying on you. All right. I don't want to hear your excuse for all this stuff. But basically, this will send information to a friend of yours showing the kind of stuff that you're looking at. It will, if you go to questionable sites or whatever, somebody's going to get a notification about that. And you might say, well, wait a minute, how is that going to affect anything? Why would just somebody getting that information, stop me? I'll tell you why. Because here's the thing about pornography. It is a shameful thing. Everyone's ashamed of it. You don't want to get caught. And let me tell you something. Normal people, now you do have your freaks, your weirdos, your perverts out there. But, most people, unless they are a pervert that is grooming you, okay, I'm not talking about those people today. We all know that the groomers, that's one of the things that they do. They like to show other people sexually explicit, images and things. That's how they recruit. That is how they defile. That's another group, okay? I'm not talking about those people today because I don't think it's only the reprobates and the homos and stuff that struggle with this stuff. No, I believe good, saved people struggle with this stuff too. And good, saved people, they don't sit around talking about this stuff because they know it's wrong. They know that it's shameful. It is an embarrassing thing. They would be embarrassed to get caught looking at those things. They would be embarrassed if somebody got on their phone and they saw what was going on and saw the things that they were looking at doing on there. And that alone stops a lot of people. And that just proves, too, that it's a shameful thing. It's wrong. If you're looking at something that's not a problem, you don't care if somebody knows about that, but you do with this because it's a very serious thing. And so I want us to also go back to Covenant Eyes, our site, and we're going to look at some of their statistics. Okay, now, folks, statistics aren't Bible. I don't know how accurate these things are, but let me just say, based on my experience, and I don't have any reason to doubt these statistics. And so when you look at these, it gets very disturbing. So let's go ahead and take a look at what they're saying when it comes to stats on the porn industry. So it says, and they have a quote here from one of Playboy's people. It says, it seems so obvious if we invent a machine, the first thing we're going to do after making a profit is use it to watch porn. And I think that's interesting because it's like these people, they understand the depravity of man a lot better than a lot of Christians do. And understand sinful man, you can give them something good, like a phone, like a computer, like a video camera, like the internet, and they'll find a way to do evil with it. And I'm here today to tell you, if you have evil in your heart and you are determined to do evil, you will find a way to do it. Okay? And let me just say this too, parents, you're worried about your kids getting involved with this. By all means, worry about it. But just understand, you can make all the rules in the world. It's not going to stop them. You can do everything you can to try to keep technology out of your house. I might give some stories later. It's amazing the way these people always find a way to get their hands on pornography. If your children are determined to look at this stuff, they will find it, especially today. You've got to get their hearts. You've got to make sure they've got a fear of God and a love for the Lord. And, and do whatever you can to, scare them with this stuff, because this is very dangerous stuff. So let's go ahead and look at this again. So it goes on here to say, it is projected that virtual reality, which is getting really big now, virtual reality porn should be a $1 billion business by the year 2025. The third behind an expected 1.4 billion virtual reality video game market and 1.23 billion virtual reality NFL related content. So that's scary. It says pornographers are hoping VR porn will boost porn website revenues that have been mostly stagnant from 2010 to 2015. In that time, the adult content increased roughly to 3.3 billion. So, folks, that is scary, the amount of money that goes into this. Okay, now it goes on to say that in 2006, estimated revenues for sexual-related entertainment businesses were just under 13 billion in the U.S. These estimates included video sales and rentals, internet sales, cable, pay-per-view, phone sex, exotic dance clubs, magazines, and novelty stores. It says 28,258 users are watching pornography every second. $3,075.64 is spent on porn every second on the internet. 88% of scenes in porn films contain acts of physical aggression, and 49% of scenes contain verbal aggression. And let me just stop there and say that, and right there too, okay, here's what you got to understand. And so this is hard because there's some stuff I don't want to understand, but it's, pornography is a drug. A lot of people tell you this. It is a drug. And just like other drugs, eventually there's not enough there to satisfy you and it takes more and more and more. It's the same thing with pornography. Okay? And a lot of people might not think, well, I don't have a problem with pornography because I'm not paying for anything. Because I'm sure there's plenty of free stuff that's out there too. But understand that free stuff that's out there is, that's how they rope you in. Because eventually that's not going to be enough. Okay, they're using those things as promos. Okay, those things are free, just like the commercials that you watch on TV are free. Okay, they're advertisement. They're meant to, get you interested, in these things. And so just, don't fall for that stuff, because you will, I promise you, you will eventually need more. And so you need to understand the dangers of it. And so one of the things that it mentions in there is just the physical aggression. Okay, because, it's like there's a progression with this stuff. Eventually it is maybe just seeing the woman or whatever, but then eventually, they want to watch people doing things that only married people should be doing. And then eventually it keeps getting farther and farther to where a lot of this stuff is violent. A lot of married couples who, the husband was into pornography. That was one of the things that started causing problems in their marriage, is the husband was wanting to do things that were violent to the wife. And then you have some of these just garbage scumbag men who, act like there's something wrong with their wife because and I said I was going to be nice, but these people make me mad. They act like there's something wrong with their wife because she's not fulfilling his needs. Well, you know what? Maybe your needs are sick and twisted because you have allowed your mind and your heart to be corrupted. So don't blame your wife. If you feel like you're lacking something or missing something, that's not her fault that, this has happened, that you need this type of thing. And I read one article too. I don't want to mention the books, the movies. I don't want to give advertisement to just garbage things, but I was reading one thing showing how, because you say, oh, just somebody watch something that's not going to make it more violent. Okay, yes, it will. And for example, there was a bunch of filthy books that came out several years ago that was all about physical relationship between a couple people, that the guy had all these problems, and apparently was into violent stuff. And people read those books, and hospital visits for certain types of accidents and injuries doubled after those books came out. There was a huge increase in those type of injuries that were taking place. Now, I want to be careful speaking about these things. You say, well, why would that cause a double? I'll tell you why, because it was putting this stuff in everybody's head. And people they're reading about this, then they made movies about it. People are watching it. And all of a sudden, you've got all these increased hospital visits for these different type of things. You say this stuff doesn't affect people, you better believe it does. There's a reason that domestic abuse is skyrocketing. You know why? Because people are seeing violent stuff all the time. They're watching it and they want to do that. And that's why you cannot, you can't go down this road. You cannot watch these things. It's going to affect you too much. And that's why they want to put these ideas in your head. Folks, this is why they are constantly promoting, this being able to push talking about homosexuality to young children. I mean, people are flipping out because in Florida, I forgot what the age limit was. They're stopping them from talking to kindergartners and first and second graders and stuff. I don't know what grade it goes up to about sexual type stuff. I don't understand why that's even controversial. That ought to be a gimme, but they shouldn't be talking about that stuff. But they want to talk about it. The homo crowd, they understand that if we allow these kids, hit puberty, and it's once somebody kind of goes through puberty, that's a lot of things happen in their mind and are cemented in their head during that time. And the thing is, if we just let nature run its course, by the time someone's a teenager, or in high school, they're going to be repulsed by anything homosexual related. They're going to be just naturally repulsed by it. So that's why they have to form their thinking on these things before that happens. They understand that if we don't get to these children while they're children, they're all going to grow up to be homophobes. They understand that. So that's why they want to push this. But here's the problem. You know what? Us homophobes are right. This stuff is perverted. It is horrible. It is devastating to people's lives. And there is nothing good about it. There's absolutely nothing good about it. But no, they want to keep pushing it younger and younger and younger. Why? So it seems normal. These things aren't normal. These behaviors are not normal. Violent behavior towards your spouse is not normal. As husbands, we're supposed to give honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. We are supposed to cherish her. And the way some men are with their wives sometimes, just the lack of care, the lack of compassion. It's all about just whatever they need at that time, at that moment, and they go thumping their chest like they're all that. I'm telling you, you are a worthless human being. You are a sorry individual. And I do believe a lot of the problem with these people is they're addicted to pornography. People who have just these horribly negative attitudes towards women, I believe a lot of it is related to porn use. Okay, I really do, because here's the thing about about harlots and about people like that. No one respects them. Okay, I listened to some guys a while back talking about, and I shared a video clip about it, how the word whore, we should change that word in the Bible because it has such a negative connotation today. Well, it's supposed to. It's always been a negative thing. And he's like, we kind of use this word as an insult today. And it's like, yeah, because it's a really bad thing. No man has ever loved a whore. They only use them. That's what they're there for. And understand, if you're constantly viewing this kind of stuff, okay, if that's how you get pleasure from women, understand, you might get a little bit of pleasure from that, but you're also going to see women as just an object and not as a person, not as somebody who has a mind and feelings and emotions and their own desires and things. You're not going to see them that way. And I'm telling you, when I see even Christian guys just getting up, thumping their chest, just talking negative about women all the time, acting like they're all Jezebels, just acting like they're all harlots and things like that, I'm concerned about you. I think I know what you've got a problem with, and stay away from my daughters. Stay away from my daughters. I don't think you're capable of having respect for women. When you've allowed your mind to be warped by this stuff. All right, so you guys out there too, proving how spiritual you are by just talking negative about women all the time. I think you're just showing your hand. All right, I think you're just showing where your problem is, and so I didn't. You know, you're not fooling me. All right, you're not fooling me. But let's go ahead and read a little bit more of this. So uh, says here 79% of porn performers have used marijuana, 50% have used ecstasy. Um, and there is something about, again, drug use and the sexual stuff. I think it just feeds the same part of the brain. And so let's go down far. It says this, because this is interesting here. It says stats on how people perceive porn. Here it says 90% of teens and 96% of young adults are either encouraging, accepting, or neutral when they talk about porn with their friends. Now, first off, that is not normal for teenagers to be talking about that kind of thing. Okay? If you find out your teenagers are talking about this kind of stuff with people, find out what's wrong with your teenager and keep them away from whoever they were talking with this stuff about. That is not normal. Okay, I get it. I grew up in a Christian home. I went to a Christian school. But folks, we never discuss this subject. And I maybe I was weird. I'm thankful for it, but maybe I was weird. But let me just say this. This is, as far as it ever went with my friends, I'm just going to lay it all out. As far as it ever went with my friends and talking about women is we had this thing we would do where sometimes when we go to a restaurant or something, we would, if the waitress was pretty, we'd give her a bigger tip. That was, and you say, oh, that's terrible. Well, dirty teens, but that was the extent of what we would say about them. They're pretty. We would not talk about why they were pretty. We would not talk about certain parts of the body. It was pretty much just, wow, she's really pretty. She deserves a bigger tip. That was about as far as it ever went with us. And talking about pornography, stuff like that, that's terrifying. All right? I hate the thought. I'm terrified at the thought of my teenagers talking about that stuff. That would devastate me if that was going on. But let's keep reading more. So just 55% of adults, 25 and older, believe porn is wrong. Teens and young adults, 13 to 24, believe not recycling is worse than viewing pornography. You know why? Because they get their morals from the news media and, from Hollywood. Only 43% of teens believe porn is bad for society compared to 31% of young adults, 18 to 24, 51% of millennials, 44% of Gen Xers, and 59% of boomers. So, folks, this is ridiculous, okay? And understand what I believe is happening here is just like, because again, pornography is a shameful thing. If people are struggling with that, they don't like feeling bad about it. They don't like being embarrassed by it. And that's why if you have someone who insists on talking about it, who insists on sharing it, they're a groomer, okay? They are a groomer, and what groomers, they hate they hate that which is pure and holy. They hate it, and they want to defile everybody. You know why? Because they don't want to feel bad. And that's why you have people that go after minors and go after young children. Why? Because of the innocence. They hate that innocence. They want to take it away. They want to defile. That's what these people do. That's why LGBT people aren't content to just do their own thing in the privacy of their own home. No, they got to have their parades. They got to have their month where they're celebrated. They've got to have themselves represented on every TV show, in the news media. They want to be, same-sex couples in every commercial. Why are they doing this? Because they're trying to take away the stigma. They're trying to take away the shame that comes from it. And they're grooming our entire nation. And you know what? It's happening even with pornography too, where everybody acts like it's okay. And here's the thing about it too. There's a lot of stuff that isn't, and I mean, I don't know who decides when something's pornography and when it isn't. But we got to understand too, a lot of you probably think, well, I don't have a problem with pornography because, you haven't gone on like a porn site or something like that. But understand some of the stuff that's on regular television today, why is it not pornography? I mean, if you got nudity, if you've got men and women to bed, if these things are clearly the whole point is just for your visual pleasure, I don't know what else to call it. And you say, well, it's not the real bad stuff. Eventually you're going to have it. Don't even watch that stuff. Okay, just because it's not technically pornography does not mean it's you're okay and you're in the clear. And so we need to keep the shame associated with these things. We need to make sure people understand you should be embarrassed if you've seen this. If you look at this stuff, it is something you should be ashamed of. But now let's look at this part about pornography in church statistics. And I hate to believe this stuff's true, but unfortunately it probably is. So it says here, 1 in 5 youth pastors and 1 in 7 senior pastors use porn on a regular basis and currently struggling. That's more than 50,000 U.S. church leaders. I wonder if that has anything to do with all these scandals we're hearing about. Because unfortunately, nobody's going to go to jail or nothing's going to go to court if a preacher's just looking at pornography. But eventually, that's not enough. They've got to participate in things, and we've got a lot of abuse scandals and things that are out there. 43% of senior pastors and youth pastors say they have struggled with pornography in the past. 64% of Christian men and 15% of Christian women say they watch porn at least once a month. So obviously it's a lot lower in women, but it's pretty sad how many women too. It says only 7% of pastors report their church has a ministry program for those struggling with porn. And, this is one of the reasons I'm interested in talking with somebody who's done this, because again, I think a lot of pastors are afraid to know how many men in their church are struggling with this stuff. And, I get that. I'd hate to think that, a bunch of my men in our church were struggling with this. I hate to think that. But at the same time, too, are we really helping anything by burying our head in the sand and acting like they're not having a problem when they are having a problem? Because if they are struggling with this, I guarantee it's giving them marriage problems. Aren't we supposed to be helping in this area? And it's hard because, again, all right, how does this program work? How do we do it? Well, you know what? Nobody wants to sign up for that program. You put a sign-up sheet in the back of the auditorium. Hey, we got a new class for guys struggling with pornography. Who wants to go put their name on that? So I do believe something needs to be done. That's partly what I'm doing right here, just trying to help with this in some way today, mainly just trying to deter people from ever messing with this stuff. But I'm telling you, obviously, something needs to be done because this is a very serious thing that is really hurting a lot of marriages. All right, so let's go back to this. So here, teens and porn stats. A 2018 study reveals nearly 27% of teens receive sex. And sexting is a huge thing. Around 15% are sending them. And understand the people that are sending this stuff are typically the groomers that are out there. You do not want to give these people access to your children. 57% of teens search out porn at least monthly. 51% of male students and 32% of female students first viewed porn before their teenage years. Their first exposure to pornography among men is 12 years old on average. 71% of teens hide online behavior from their parents. And a 2016 study on Canadian adolescents showed that 45.3% admitted to problems in erectile dysfunction. And folks, this is another area too. I don't want to cross any lines, all right? I'm trying to be very careful in speaking here, but here's what you young people need to understand. And I don't really know how to explain this in a way that's not super inappropriate. And again, parental warning, all right? When it comes to this, parents, if you want to let your teenagers listen to this, I recommend you listen first, and then you decide what you think you need to do depending on your teen. But when you when young people mess with this stuff, okay, it's bad for anybody, but especially young people, during those early years, this is going to affect your sexual behavior probably for the rest of your life. And a lot of young people have a problem and have issues. A lot of, young married people, I'm talking about people in their 20s and stuff, have issues in performing sexually and in doing what they're trying to do. Now, folks, that's embarrassing, okay? Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to admit if they have a problem with these things. And and it's disgusting, all the commercials that we hear talking about this stuff too. You listen to the radio and then these commercials come up and it's just like, good night, but obviously they're paying all this money for these commercials because there's a lot of people that need it. Now, again, I don't think any man wants to admit he has a problem performing. But understand, you mess with pornography, you're probably going to have problems in this area. You're probably not going to be able to deliver. And I know of a situation with somebody who went to the marriage altar, physically pure, marries a beautiful woman, but was so messed up in the head already because of pornography that on their honeymoon he was still dependent on pornography to be able to perform. Folks, I don't like talking about this kind of stuff, but I'm here today to tell you, and let me tell you, that marriage didn't last. This person who's so twisted in the head that this is the situation that he's in. I can't imagine anything more embarrassing on your honeymoon. And and his wife knew he had a problem with this even before they got married. She married him anyway. That was a very stupid thing to do. Very stupid thing to do. But this person who was so twisted in the head, when they spoke to me and were talking about how their marriage was about to end, I'll never forget when it was like he was avoiding use of the word porn, and there was finally one time where he had to say it, and it was like he had a hard time even having it come out of his mouth. It was hard for him to say that even to me, that he was addicted to this. Because it's a shameful thing, folks. You will be ashamed of yourself. And so just don't do it. Do not go down that road. Do not mess with it. It will mess you up. And let me tell you something. The physical relationship between a man and a woman, that is a very wonderful thing that, is for a husband and a wife. It is something that should be enjoyed. And it is in many marriages. But I'm telling you, in the ones where pornography comes into the marriage, that kind of thing isn't so joyful anymore. And I'm telling you, you are messing yourself up. You're going to hurt your marriage. You're going to hurt your wife's self-esteem. And you have no right to do this as a man. And so, again, and let me tell you something, men who are struggling with this, okay, and any person out there that you're tempted with it right now, you're thinking about this and trying to justify it in your mind. Just understand, all these men out here who have these kind of problems, who can't do what they need to do in the bedroom without this stuff, just understand, they don't go around talking about that, right? They don't talk. When you listen to those commercials, advertising these things to help people out, they're always talking about how it'll be shipped discreetly to you. Because they don't even want their mail. Most people don't even know the name of their mailman, but they would be humiliated if their mailman knew that they had a problem with this stuff. That's how shameful it is. And that's what you're going to do to yourself if you mess with this stuff. And I'm telling you, one of the greatest gifts that you could give your wife when you go to the marriage bed is a clean mind, innocence. If you have that, if it will not only will you enjoy the marriage relationship more than most people, okay, you'll be happy, you will be more satisfied, you will be more fulfilled, but you cannot be tempted with these things. And folks, the temptation, it's always going to be around, but just don't give in. Don't give in. Let your wife be the one that satisfies you, and yeah, do not be deceived by these things. But let's go ahead and go back to this. So hang on, I didn't switch the screen. So here says, okay, hang on, I can't find the thing. Got too many screens open here. Pornography and marriage stats says 68% of divorce cases involve one party meeting a new lover over the internet. 56% involved one party having an obsessive interest in pornographic websites. 70% of wives of sex addicts could be diagnosed with PTSD. This is devastating on the women. You have no right to put your wife through this stuff. Prolonged exposure to pornography leads to diminished trust between intimate couples, belief that promiscuity is the natural state, lack of attraction to family and child raising. A 2014 study found that compulsive pornography users had greater impairments of sexual arousal and erectile difficulties in intimate relationships, but not with sexually explicit materials. So there it is again. This is going to be it's going to be a huge problem for you. This is going to mess everything up, and so a lot of times I don't know if people are stupid on purpose or if they're really stupid, or maybe this has something to do with just people who've not been married and don't have experience in these things. I don't know, but here's what you have to understand, because I think a lot of single guys, they feel like, well, it's okay for me to do this. I'm not married, so I'm not hurting a wife or anything like that. Here's the problem though. You're hurting your future wife, whoever she is, because she deserves to have somebody with a clean mind. And again, if you're just one of these guys, you think all women are whores, we understand why you think that way. Okay, we now understand what you've been watching and why you've got that feeling. But no, you are hurting your future marriage, because for one, it's creating desires in you that are not natural, that are not going to bring pleasure to your wife. And here's the other thing too. This is what's going to happen. This is why it's so bad too if you do this stuff even before you're married, because a lot of guys think too, well, once I get married, I won't need this. Yes, you will. Okay, that's another lie your brain tells you. Yes, you will, because even married people who never view pornography until after they were married, still get tempted with this stuff and still struggle with this stuff. Men are very visual, creatures, and we constantly have, sexually explicit images shoved in our face, on television, on the internet, on billboards, on magazine racks and Walmart. I mean, we see things everywhere, just the way a lot of women walk down the streets. But here's where you're really killing things in your marriage. Okay, and this is one of the reasons too. I think a lot of guys just can't find a wife. They're always talking about there's no godly women. Well, that sounds spiritual when you say that, but no, I think the problem is you can't find a godly woman that looks like the one that you've been looking at all the time. I think that's what's going on. And let me tell you something about pornography. I years ago I saw a documentary about the comic book industry. Okay, and the comic book industry, I don't know if it was Marvel or DC or both. I don't remember if it was even called something else. I don't remember the details, but it was showing how the writers of these comic books originally it was pornography that they were publishing and that they were putting out, and laws ended up being passed making these things illegal. And so, what they ended up doing is they ended up going to the superhero stuff instead. And they all drew a little more clothes. But folks, in the superhero world, that has always been filled with sexually explicit stuff. With all the superhero women wear hardly anything. I mean, it's not a shock. I remember seeing that. I was like, well, that's not a surprise. Now we know why superheroes dress the way they do and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. It's the same customer base, because what these people are selling, what comic book people are selling, what pornography people are selling is fantasy. Okay? It's fantasy. Now, we're smart enough as a society where we understand that guys can't fly, that they're not bulletproof, they can't shoot fire out of their eyes. We understand that that's fantasy, but yet men still love it, don't they? I mean, just look at the billions of dollars being made from all these superhero movies. I mean, it's a massive industry, and men just eat this stuff up. Why? Because, what man doesn't like the thought of being bulletproof and being able to, just, be able to fly around and save the day and, do all the things that all the superheroes do. Okay? But at the same time, we get that it's fantasy. But here's the thing about pornography. That's portrayed as something that, hey, this is real. These are real people. But at the end of the day, what's taking place on there is not how things are in most bedrooms. And the way, they choose the absolute best looking people in the world and all that stuff. And, that's not what most people look like. And so the thing is, you go into this fantasy, you're watching this stuff thinking, I should get this one of these days. You're not going to. Okay? It's not going to happen. And especially, you marry some young, godly, innocent Christian lady, and you go and you marry her. I mean, do you think she's going to be able to do like the professional that you're watching on pornography? And you know what? That sweet, young, innocent lady, maybe virtuous woman whose price is far above rubies, because you're twisted in the head, you're going to make her feel like there's something wrong with her because she can't satisfy you. Because you live in fantasy world. And you know what? Shame on you. Boy, I hate the thought. I hate the thought of my daughter marrying somebody like that. And then you have these guys who's, they go and they get their wife pregnant. That's pretty normal. But when women get pregnant, it changes the way their body looks. And then it's like they act like there's something wrong with them, because they have their wife have 4 kids in 5 years, and then she doesn't look exactly the way that she did when they got married. And then you act like something's wrong with her. You live in a fantasy world. You have a false sense of reality because of the junk that you've been watching on the internet and even on television too, okay? Even what they show on television, it's not even close to reality. And you have no right to make your wife feel that way. And what you are doing is just devastating. She is not going to satisfy you. And so, young guys, be careful. Okay, not even just with pornography, but just anything that's on television. Okay, the people that they have on television today, even on your more family friendly type stuff. They they don't dress that modest, and they do. They have people. They're using people and women whose lives are devoted to looking a certain way. The lady, pretty much any woman that you're watching on television, she had a professional doing her makeup. That's why, her face just looks flawless in that area. They have people designing clothes for them to just be as flattering as possible. They are spending hours and hours of their day and huge parts of their life in the gym so they can look a certain way, so they can be as visually appealing as possible. And you think your wife's going to have time to do all that while taking care of kids, while nursing a baby? She's going to barely have time to do her own makeup. So, and you expect her to look like the lady who has a professional doing hers? So just understand, even if you're just watching superhero movies, you're getting a false sense of reality when it comes to these things. And you know what? I'm tired, and I'm about ready to just start calling it out when people say this stuff to you. I'm tired of ugly fat dudes that look like they haven't bathed in a week, you know, talking like they deserve these, perfect 10 women and stuff that are out there. They'll talk about, girls getting fat and being ugly and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, you are out of shape. You look like you smell. You probably do smell. You don't have you don't even have a very good job. You have no money, and you just think the super godly, super good looking woman is just going to show up and, want to marry you. And I see that, and it's like, this person is not living in Realville. They live in a fantasy world. And you know what? These people who live in fantasy worlds, I immediately wonder, are you, are you into that stuff? Because you do seem obsessed with fantasy. You don't seem to have a firm grasp on reality. What happened to you? And I think you've messed yourself up. And so, guys that are out there, just listen, stay innocent. Don't look at anything. Don't look at anything. Keep yourself pure. Keep your heart pure. And I'm telling you, when you get married, you will be so thankful. And even after you get married, keep it that way. Keep it that way. Protect your eyes, protect your heart, and do not get involved in this pornography thing. Men that are out there that you've messed up in this area, you've struggled with it. I believe God can help you get out of it. But listen, you have to stop right now. You have to stop. And something I'm hoping to talk about next week. I'm hoping to talk about the pornography industry and the human trafficking industry. They're one and the same, ladies and gentlemen. If you are contributing to pornography, your funds that you are contributing to human trafficking. And one thing that I have heard that has helped a lot of men get over pornography. This is something I have been told by some of the pastors that I've talked to about this subject. Is I haven't found these yet. I'm hoping to find them before next week, and I can share them. But apparently, there's some documentaries out there just showing, the realities of the human trafficking industry and the pornography industry, how they're one and the same. And the thing is, he said it's normal for a guy, to be interested and looking at a beautiful woman. You've got to have the character to look away. But you're not a pervert twisted in the head. That's normal. But here's what you got to understand. They start you with that stuff. They start twisting your mind. But those people that are putting that stuff out there, that are trying to get your money, they're trying to sell you this stuff, understand they also have clients that are way more messed up in the head than you. And they're it's the same people, same group, same companies. They're putting out the child pornography and stuff. And folks, listen, I don't believe for a sec. If our government wanted to get rid of this stuff, they could. It's amazing how they can censor little old me who gets very little attention on social media and YouTube and stuff, and yet they can't stop pornography. The reason they can't stop pornography is because they don't want to. Because these are billionaires involved in this that you better believe are paying off politicians. So, but here's the thing. When normal people despise human trafficking, the idea that women are doing things against their will, or especially children are being hurt. And supposedly some of these documentaries that show that, it makes people just so repulsed by it that they don't want to look at it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. And so, you need to start thinking, what if my child got kidnapped by these people? Oh, well, the girl's over 18. Okay, but what if your daughter got kidnapped over 18? Would you want people watching this stuff? What if these were your children? That's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's sister that's out there. And they make it look one way, but that's not it. Folks, the sexting stuff that's going on, You know, people ruin their lives, they ruin their reputations because some girl let some boy talk her into sending some image because he's a pervert, and then he shares it with people. These things become public. I mean, kids commit suicide over this stuff. And a lot of times parents have no idea the things that their children are being pressured to do. And we've got to understand the reality that there are many teenagers out there that are addicted to this stuff, obsessed with this stuff. There are groomers out there all over the place, old and young. And chances are, if your children are on the internet, have cell phones, somebody is going to try to get these type of things from them, and they might not tell you about it. Hopefully they will, but you've got to understand that the dangers that are out there, and make sure that you just, for one, keep it out of your life, that you keep your heart pure, and do whatever you can to protect your family in this area, because it will ruin you. So that's all I'm going to say about this today, but I do plan on over the next couple weeks dealing with some more aspects of this. But hopefully today, this will, if you're not having a problem in this, it will keep you from messing with it at all. And again, if you know someone who specializes in this area and helping people, don't hesitate to recommend them to me. If you want to email me, lbc@rockfalls@gmail.com. If you're somebody who has a ministry that's worked in this, don't be ashamed to contact me, and talk to me about this. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, and if you don't have to, and if they're not exactly like IFB, I definitely prefer that, but I can't find them. And so you can, freak out if I want to talk to somebody that's not that way. That's fine. I'm not real worried about you. I'll be fine. I'm willing to hear what some of these people have to say because this is a very serious thing. So anyway, I hope this was a help and a blessing. Make sure you share this and warn people about this. So God bless you. We'll see you all next week.